What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com here. We got RJ City.
Is this select? Are people paying for this one?
I'll put it on there early for Fightful Select,
Okay.
but this is gonna go out to the masses.
We could do one just for select where I bury people.
That'd be great because I was just at WrestleCade, which you got unbooked from a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been booked for any kind of cade. Cavalcade used to be an old WWE show in Canada. They never booked me either. It's okay.
Well, I was there and I tried to get everybody I interviewed to bury somebody, and nobody would except for Dax. Dax Harwood buried everybody. That was cool, but
Did he bury me?
no, he didn't actually.
We're kind of close.
I reference you in interviews an awful lot though, and try to get people to
And
bury
people
you.
go, "What's the face?" When they hear my name, they go,
People won't bury you. Like, by and large, they won't bury you. And then, of course, the one I never mention you to is Chelsea Green, who probably could bury you.
I did a whole podcast burying her. I mean, the woman owes me money. She shouldn't bury me at all. Her fiance loves me. I'm not invited to the wedding. So it's another thing I'm not booked at.
I'm not invited to that either. It's wild. Everybody says that she's like my #1 news source, and I'm not even invited to the wedding.
Maybe they'll leak the photos to you.
They should. You know what? That'd be good.
What's the name of it? You write for Power Slam magazine? That's what this is?
Fightful magazine. We can run them as like the cover story in the corner. Exclusive wedding photos from Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green.
Yes.
And I will end up paying them more for those than what Chelsea owes you. And you still won't get your money.
I won't get my money because she's, she feels like she's entitled to it, and I don't know why. But
I understand why, because I mean, you've got syndication money, you've got WWE money, you've got being Mario Cantone's friend money. Like,
I've got vintage Simon and Garfunkel T-shirt money.
So I think that she assumes it's like when you stay in a 5-star hotel and they don't put a fridge or a microwave in there because they assume you're so rich you're just going to order room service. She just assumes you're so rich that you don't need the money.
It's the principle of it, Even if she gave it to me, I would probably give it back and say, I just wanted to know that you would.
You would definitely take a picture for Instagram, though. Like, the exchanging of the money. It's $10, correct?
It's $10. Yeah, and that was 4 years ago. It's $10 Canadian. I'm not even going to bother with interest or inflation or any of this.
Well, I can adjust for inflation in my head. That's about 35 cents American. And I got to side with you on this one. It seems like an amount of money that she could afford.
Right. And, I will say something. Matt Cardona is incredibly generous. Sent me a Flash Funk.
A bone cruncher?
I think so. Do the bone crunchers, like, 1 in every 8 bone crunchers actually crunched bones?
Yeah. I've got, like...
But I do hear, now that I'm, getting older, I feel like a lot of wrestlers do hear a slight clicking noise in their joints.
Yeah, that is true. Now, did he send it with the hat or without?
It's with the hat. It's in the box.
So
it's got a nice...
So it's boxed. That's fantastic. That's one of my favorite figures in that line. I've collected almost all of them now.
Yeah, I'm a big Clarence Mason guy.
Are you? Now those...
I like the 1 point of articulation.
Yes, like the feet like adjust slightly.
Yes. Was it there? Didn't Sergeant Slaughter have like paper in his hand?
He's got paper in his hand, and his arm goes like this.
Oh,
that's
man. Yes, with admonishing action.
So the non-wrestlers were just solid plastic, hard plastic that did not move whatsoever. Like, they can't
Could you
bump.
imagine just a child who is in Toys R Us in the wrestling aisle, not a wrestling fan, like looking to get to the Transformers and perusing and just seeing this bald man wearing gray pants, holding a paper, going, why would I want this?
I would not like a new Cyclops. I would like this Jackal figure that does not come with any other members of the Truth Commission.
Yes.
That's
how it works out. Can keep your... What was it? Recon Sniper,
Kurrgan the Interrogator.
The wonderful Robert Maillet, who's an absolute doll. Can I say that?
That's
one of the nicest people I've ever met.
So that's the first time I've heard his real name pronounced out loud. Like, I was just calling him Robert Mallet for a long time in my head.
Yes.
But yeah, I saw him in in a Kevin James horror movie, which, I mean, I guess they're all kind of horror movies, but
Sure.
the one that was
You're
intended...
talking about Paul Blart or the UFC one?
The one that was actually intended to be a horror movie, where
Yes.
they played Nazis, I believe.
Well, he split me open.
Did he?
Yeah, we did a movie together called Monster Brawl. Don't know if you're familiar. I urge you to check it out. It's basically a pay-per-view of classic Monsters wrestling. And he's Frankenstein, I'm the Wolfman, and we're the main event, because of course. And he's choke slamming me in the graveyard. And so we have to do a bunch of takes. They want to get different angles. So I'm standing, he's basically has his hand on my throat, and we're standing there, we're waiting in position. And he scratches his head, and he puts his arm down. And as he puts his arm down, he hardways me. His elbow catches me right here. And I had this Wolfman prosthetic on. And it really, really stung. And I was like, And he's like, oh, sorry. And I don't want to be like, oh my God, you split me open, you monster. And it turns out I was bleeding into the prosthetic the whole time and had no idea.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty successful acting career.
He's an amazing acting career. He's so smart and funny. And I'm just like, you're so much better than wrestling. And I'm so happy for you.
I think a lot of people would, like, maybe they don't realize, like, he's been in Deadpool and Hercules,
and
Sherlock
every
Holmes.
Guillermo del Toro film, pretty much.
So as we circle back to that, I want to do an exercise
Yeah.
which just came to me, and I didn't want to forget about it. Do you ever visit your own Cagematch profile?
No.
I know
word has gotten back from those who have. Also, like, around the internet, I'm at least, like, 5 different heights.
Yes.
Depending on what site you're looking at, like, give or take, like, 6 or 7 inches. Do you remember, Ron Hutchison?
Yeah, of course.
He booked a show, and he insisted that because I was a babyface, I should be billed a shorter than I actually am. I was like, you're ruining my life, and it's still up.
That's amazing. What is your shoot height?
I'm 6'1.5", almost. I can get away with saying I'm 6'2".
Well, Cagematch got away with saying you were 6 feet. But I know you try to forget about your wrestling matches as soon as they happen, so I imagine...
Oh, shit.
that
I like playing this.
I would imagine that sometimes you have to go back.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at your Cagematch profile. True or false, you haven't had a match since March 2020.
True.
Okay. Now, I'm going to read the comments on
I probably haven't had a match longer than that, but go ahead.
I'm going to read the comments on your Cagematch profile, which I got to say, your rating is 8.67 out of 10.
Is that good?
Yes, it's exceptional.
Okay, great. Do you know who my last match was against?
Daniel Garcia.
Yes. Talk about a trajectory. We both went. Go ahead.
So this one is from Mizzle Assault Ant that says,
Okay.
I've only seen him wrestle rarely. He seems perfectly good, but his personality is definitely what shines, and it shines in a big way.
My motto is, I can wrestle, I just don't.
I like it.
That's the worst, when you wrestle people and they come back and they go, wow, you can wrestle. I'm like, what the fuck? That's so insulting to say to someone. It's like having coffee with someone after and be like, wow, like, I heard you were an asshole. I was wrong. It's like, well, don't say that to people.
So here's one that rated you a 10 out of 10, and they rated you a 10 out of 10 way back in 2016.
I don't know what they were watching.
It says, RJ has one of the best gimmicks around and certainly knows how to work it. A showboating former Nickelodeon star who just reeks of arrogance. His mic skills get him over as one of the more pompous heels on any roster, and his moveset complements him the same way. He's getting the notoriety he deserves in bigger feds in Canada, and rightfully so. But I'm happy to see him in ESW month after month. Oh, you got that recurring fan right there.
Yeah, that's great. This guy's following me, and I appreciate it.
Gary Thomas 222, and this was back in
And who could forget him? And my hat's off to Mr. Thomas.
How do you think his opinion would have changed about you since then? Do you think that you're still at a 10? Do you think that you've slidden down any at all?
It should be ... I don't understand. I think that would be his What happened exactly? I think would be
his next comment. What happened with 2 question marks?
I thought he had all the tools, and then they all kind of fell out of his toolbox, and I don't understand what he's doing now.
Now, the third and final comment is your lowest rating.
Uh-oh.
Which had you at a 7.
I'll take it.
I would too. Hoka2 in Winter wrote, really, really good promo. Amazing character work. Money looks. However, his work is very American television style formulaic.
Coming from someone who's on American television, doesn't that make sense?
Says the plus to that is, I'm sure he's super easy to work with and very safe. You'll love this. Plus, if he gets signed by WWE, he won't take much time to adjust. The downside is it's not exactly an exciting style.
Thanks.
Additionally, his feud and team with David Arquette is well worth seeking out. I thought that was it's like some of the stuff I agree with, some of the stuff I don't, but I thought that was a very fair and balanced review.
I think that was really reasonable. I think he and also rated me higher than, average or half. I didn't get a 5. He was giving me the benefit of the doubt there. Are you writing one?
No, I'm just going to look. I'm just going to arbitrarily look up somebody else.
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair is rated a full point lower than you.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Now, granted.
But I also think that's because, every match she has is usually seen by people.
Also, you have 5 votes. She has 617. So, I mean, maybe...
Right.
Maybe
but, I think I have a decent ERA at the end of the day.
Exactly. You know what? It's about the performance. And those who have seen you think that you're great.
I guess so.
At worst.
I'm very much like the Velvet Underground. Did you see them? Did you see them live? You have to really see them live. The 8 shows they did were great.
Oh, man. So it's wild because we actually do have things to talk about. You have done things over the last year and a half.
Let's start off, first of all. Before that, there's something that happened that's much bigger than us and connected us in a very deep way when we first met. And now we do have to mourn and grieve, and that's the loss of Ed Asner.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That is. The sad thing is, I think mere days after that, I was going to meet him at a Lexington Comic Con or something like that, and he passed the day before my birthday this year. And those of you who don't remember, RJ said that Ed Asner encouraged him to have his ass eaten, I believe it was.
Yeah, well, I think that's just the name of that in the show business is the Ed Asner.
Oh, it is the Ed Asner. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you remembered that because I was a little foggy on the details on that.
And you were gonna ask him that?
I was actually. I was gonna ask him about that because I thought, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And
and he seems like he's a fine guy. He seems like a doll to work with. And I will also say, your friend there, your little shoe friend there, GOI.
Oh, Jim, who does Glaciers of Ice kicks. Yeah.
First of all, you can just say glaciers because glaciers are often made of ice. Number one. Number two, he said to me, this is months ago, I want to make pairs of shoes for you and David Arquette. Mm-hmm. And I want to make them out of old celebrity clothing or something.
That's awesome.
So he and I have been hunting for something for him to cut up.
Yeah.
And it's been very difficult. We've been going to trying to look for estate sales online.
That's
and
amazing.
Some stuff has been really nice where it's you don't want to cut up Carol Burnett's dress.
Of course.
And make shoes out of them. That's sacrilegious.
Would you like to cut up this Hobbs and Shaw promotional brisk iced tea case and make shoes out of that?
Sure.
See, the gimmick that they sent me is that you would be opening up a can of Whoop Ass.
Yeah.
The name of it was
original.
Whoop Ass. So this has a lot of not fabric in it, but something that could make very uncomfortable shoes, I think.
Yes.
And who is a bigger legend in that movie than Jason Statham? Jason Statham, Ed Asner.
Yeah.
To me, right there.
Yeah, he's really the modern Ed Asner.
He is. I mean, I don't know if you know this today, but when younger people get their asses eaten, they're like, that's a Jason Statham.
Statham. Yes.
That's a crank too high voltage.
Yeah, and it was so noble of Ed Asner to pass the torch like that.
And a lot of people think that it's forced when people do that, but he
Yeah.
gave him the seal of approval. He's like,
It was very much Warrior Hogan WrestleMania 6.
but everybody was watching Ed Asner leave instead of watching Jason Statham
Right.
take the reins.
And we're still waiting for Statham to really take the ball and run with it.
It was, and I do appreciate that Ed Asner from that point said, "Give me a high voltage." One of those every time. Give me a crank too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it worked out. But legitimately, I mean, that is a bummer. We would send messages to each other about Ed Asner. Far more frequently than I had ever anticipated before that interview. That's for sure.
But I will say it's kind of average for me to send messages about Ed Asner.
That's true. I think you got him over with a wrestling audience, but
he has deep wrestling roots.
He does. The Randy Orton story. Had you heard that?
Well, I told you that.
Yeah, I know, but before that, I mean, and there was like, go ahead. Sorry.
He's in the movie with Vern.
Oh, you're right. The wrestler.
Yeah, the original The Wrestler. Yeah.
Billy Robinson was in that back in the day.
Yes.
That's how it popped on my radar there.
So do you actually have a list of actual things you wanted to talk about?
I do. I mean, you did do some work with WWE. Are you still doing that, or is that?
Do you want to start from the beginning? Like, what do you want to know?
What don't I want to know? Because, I mean, full disclosure, I hit up RJ for an interview in like March because I was like, I gotta have my yearly RJ, at least yearly interview with RJ, and then we were like, there might be some hoops we got to jump through. We'll see. And now here we are, and it was very easy to set this up. I assume there's a reason for that.
Well, no, I mean, there's also, I was working on a bunch of stuff that I could not talk about yet and did not want to talk about. And then it's like, I don't want to sit here and like dodge questions.
Yeah.
Like that would be really shitty. I also don't want to be the big vague things guy. I don't want to, be the equivalent of tweeting the eye emoji.
That's me. That's me.
That
about
is
once
you.
a month.
I hate it. I yell at you when I see it.
But I always pay it off very quickly.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I'm like, it'll happen when it happens, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I've lived with enough disappointment in my life,
buddy,
near misses of things happening that I'm always like, it's not happening until I'm actually doing it.
Every time I tweet those eyeballs, I get a bunch of subscriptions. I gotta tweet those eyeballs, RJ.
It's horrible.
Look, you're legitimately mad. You're like,
it bothers me. Yeah,
that's the first serious angry I've seen of you. You went,
yeah, because I'm not paying for select. I'll say it.
I was expecting you to do one of those.
Oh yeah, that's a good. I had a bit about that. When I opened for Foley, I had a bit about like wrestlers. You can stop holding up your fists. On my mailman's Instagram, every picture isn't him holding a letter.
I know, but it would be great if it was. If that was.
And the other thing is, it's a closed fist.
It is a closed fist, and I think today a lot of people don't even know why closed fists should be illegal or were illegal. But that's for your next Al Snow seminar, I guess.
Yes, it is.
So, how did this come about, the WWE thing? Because honestly, until I heard the New Day podcast, I didn't know you had a tryout like 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, my original tryout was before tryouts were like public information. Yeah. They certainly were not, tweeted about or like, this is who's trying out. Like that was just not a thing. My understanding was that was like the first one under like Triple H and Kanyon, and that was like the first of the modern tryout, and it was back at the old FCW building. So, it was before a lot of stuff, and that's where I met Dax.
You did, huh?
Yeah.
How was that? How was he? Was he wonderful?
We were, I think, in the same rental car together. And I remember we were eating, and I think he was very like, you're from Canada, right? I was like, yeah. And he's like, Bret, like, of course, all he wanted to talk about is fucking Bret Hart.
Yeah.
What else is new? And then at some point I had mentioned Bockwinkel. And once you drop Bockwinkel, we were like best of friends.
Of course.
And he's a delight and, amazing and funny. And I would love to just kick back with him one day and watch some Lonesome Dove or something.
I've done a couple interviews with him. I learn a lot from them. I know you don't subscribe to Fightful Select. Did you happen
Yeah.
to see the story I published yesterday?
Yeah, he kicked somebody out.
Some guy made it
He sniffed out a mole.
made it like past arena security and sat in his seat in the locker room.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, I'm not in the locker room. I guess they not assigned seating, but preferred seating there. And he's like, hey, that's my seat, buddy. Guy gets up, moves right next to him to the Blade's seat, of all people, of Butcher and the Blade. And he starts rolling up his Jeff Hardy armbands.
Good stuff.
And they say, who trained you, brother? And he says, Jeff Hardy. And they say, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. And they eject him, and he goes, I'm Taz's friend. And someone who was around said, well, we knew that was bullshit. Taz doesn't have friends.
That was it, you know? If he had said, oh, I'm friends with somebody more friendly, like a Sunny Kiss.
Yes.
You know?
Maybe.
They'd be like, all right,
Maybe.
sit down.
So
Yeah.
the story that I loved, obviously, from the New Day thing was the Rings of Saturn. The punchline there, and I'm not
Yes.
even gonna go into it. You'll need to listen to the New Day show that RJ did. But what we didn't hear, after you asked to see the Rings of Saturn, how did he react? Did he get it?
If he got it, he certainly didn't let me know it.
Amazing.
There was an incredible... I felt the air get heavy. I don't know how to explain it. And I feel like some people got it. Some people, I mean, you know, Woods got it. Woods seemed to enjoy it. A lot of people seemed to enjoy it. They said very nice things to me. You know, so wait, I did that promo, and there's like dead silence. Just this, and I do remember, you know, you hear the silence. And Dusty was there. This is how long ago it was. And he just went, that was excellent, baby. And I was like, okay. Are you sure? And I think everyone is mainly, you know, confused by it.
Well, the thing that when I thought about this, I was like, gosh, this was like 2010, 2011 or something. This was after Perry had disappeared for multiple years, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
Bill Apter found him and was like, hey, here's Perry Saturn. Like, he had seen some shit, but your comment is what makes him, like, that's what leaves him speechless.
Yeah. And he did play it perfectly. He could have ruined it for me. He could have said no and not shown me his hands, and I would have been left hanging. You know?
That's a professional.
And to bring it all, I turned to the trainer there at the time, at the end of this, and I sang him the theme from Mary Tyler Moore. And who else was on Mary Tyler Moore?
Perry Saturn.
Oh, Jesus. Ed Asner.
Oh.
Shit. Fucking shit.
I
Trying
thought
to tie
maybe-
it all together here.
I know. I thought that's how you were doing it. I thought that's what Perry Saturn was doing during his absence in the late 2000s.
Next question. Move on, please.
So you get the call or the email or something to do stuff with WWE Digital?
Well, no. I was Matt Camp, who I think I had met years ago at an indie show. He's always incredibly nice to me, incredibly talented, holding down that fort. Every job they give him, he's amazing.
This generation's Pettingill, I think. He has that loud, booming voice.
I think
love it.
so. All that kind of always camera ready, kind of like really obscenely good. And he messaged me saying, hey, can you hook me up with David? We wanted to get him. I think Liv Morgan always wants to do Ready to Rumble 2 because she doesn't understand that movies that don't make money shouldn't get a sequel. So I was like, sure, like no problem. I thought it was for the bump. So I hooked him and David up, and then David's like, okay, you're coming on too, right? I'm like, no, they didn't invite me. Like, that's not how these things work. That's okay. You know, at this point, I very much made peace of like, I'm not going there, and I'm going to enjoy not being signed.
Yeah.
As you can see by my Twitter, I enjoy myself.
You can even make that your thing, is how much you're enjoying not being signed.
Yes. So, and then it came time for him to do his interview, and David keeps sending me the Zoom link. I'm like, David, like, you don't get it. Like, no, like, I'm not showing up to it. You know, he's like, no, we're a tag team. We do this together. Like, no. And then his wife sent me the link. And his wife is obviously the one in the family who has the credibility, as far as I'm concerned. So I went, okay, fine. Fuck. I'm going to click on it. And I clicked on it, and it was this video. I don't know if you remember this. Early in the pandemic, they tried to see how many superstars and celebrities they could get on one Zoom call. This was when Zoom was a novelty.
Yes.
And I click on it, and it's this Brady Bunch wall of like Kayla, Matt, David, like Titus O'Neil, Dolph Ziggler, Rey Mysterio, Clark Duke, Maria Menounos, the Bella Twins, and this is alarming. No one is telling me what's going on. No one is filling me in on anything. And I immediately start apologizing and blaming David, which is the truth. And then I started making fun of his cowboy hats. And it was very weird. And after 5 minutes, I thought, I've done enough here. That was fun. And I'm sure they'll edit this out. And then they didn't. And I was like, well, that's a giant oversight, And then after that, I guess a couple months later, I got a call an email from somebody saying, hey, do you want to do watch along, SummerSlam's watch along? And I thought this is a ruse. And then I was also very much like, are you aware like who I am? And like, this is okay with you? Cause like, I don't vary my mood that much. So, and they were like, yeah, so blah, 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 blah. And I talked to Matt, and Matt was super supportive. And then I got on there, and it's me, Bivens, and Woods. And I'm like, I know everybody. And then after that, they talked to me with the digital department, who were amazing, wonderful people. And they were just like, oh, also I think during this period was do you remember when Randy Orton tweeted me?
I do.
Had that weird, like, we had that whole day of going back and forth.
That he seemed to be pretty fond of you, actually.
I think he is. He liked a tweet of mine about Diane Lane.
Yeah.
Once, and I was like, what are you hiding? What is your DVD collection like? I think Randy has a copy of Under the Tuscan Sun, but that is just me. And I don't fault him at all. But I think also they saw that, and they're like, what is the deal with this guy? And so we talked, and they're like, what do you want to do? And I had a list of 10 pitches, cold. I'm like, I got a bunch of ideas if you want to do, like, I'm capable of doing, whatever. I also made it clear, like, these are digital people. They wanted digital content. I was very clear that, like, I'm not here to wrestle. I don't want to turn this into something more. You know what I mean? Like
the same thing you've made clear to every promoter you've ever worked for.
Why would I want to wrestle? But no, it was just like, I wanted them to know, like, I want to make whatever you give me. I want to make the thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking to make this whatever. I want to make this as funny as possible and as good as possible. And like, that's it. So had a bunch of ideas. They were all on board. They came back with some stuff. We've been working on stuff for quite a long time. Some stuff did not work out. As you know, it's like a roulette wheel sometimes.
Yeah.
With these things. There's a bunch of logistics. It's like running a city, that company. You know what I mean? And it's like trying to get, it's still like trying to get your driver's license. You have to go through all these avenues, talk to a million people. So we did a bunch of things that I had worked on and they didn't work out and stuff fell through. And it's like, don't worry. And this whole time I'm appearing on the bump. I'm doing watch-alongs and things of that nature. And I've very much become the guy down the hall from WWE. I was like their wacky neighbor. And then finally, with maybe like 2 weeks notice, they were like, we want you to do a show, a late night show in between the WrestleManias.
That's quite a time slot. It's quite a slot.
It was quite a time slot. And I also don't think they were sure at the time, will it be live? Will you be there? What will we do? Like all of this stuff came together really, really fast. So I got like kind of 2 weeks notice. So I started writing it. First of all, they were like, we want you to have a whole hour. And I was like, absolutely not. This is a horrible idea. Like, this is not going to go well. And then they were like, okay, we can be however long. It's digital, so we can do what we want. So I wrote about 3 hours of material. And then they picked out, I think, their favorite hour and a half. And there was a bunch of stuff we wanted to do that was just not producible in the time we were given. You know what I mean? And also, like, it's the same crew who does the bump. It's not like they hired a crew just to do WrestleMania After Dark.
This was an additional workload for them, I would imagine.
Yes. So I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, that whole thing. And pretty much everyone we asked for said yes.
That's
and you're
awesome.
familiar with the process of like you have to put in for people and then they schedule them and get back to you and whatever. Everyone we asked for said yes. The two people we couldn't get were Nash, because there was a scheduling thing because he was doing the Hall of Fame and blah, blah, blah. And Woods, this was typical Woods, and this is like good-natured but annoying, where he was like, hey, you know, they put in and blah, blah, blah. They told me I'm too busy to do it, but like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when we got the days and time set, I'm like, here it is, like, pick a time. And he's like, I'm too busy.
It is a very wrestling PR thing for them to be like, you're too busy to do this. You're not doing it.
Yes. So it turned out he was too busy, but he was like, what, like, can we do something? Like, how can I be a part of it that's short and sweet? So he did an endorsement for his product, the new bidet.
Yes.
Which was great. And then I think the only people I couldn't ask for were, and it was weird because we're shooting it in advance. Mm-hmm. And with people on WrestleMania, between WrestleMania, I'm like, I don't want someone to break their ankle or something and then they come on the show all smiling. So we tried to keep it very vague. I remember, like, we stayed away from Randy. I think he was in the middle of the Bray stuff. And that's, you know what I mean? That's hard, a gear shift to make. And other people, I had asked for Chelsea, and I had asked for Karen Q, who's hilarious, I've worked with before. But they were not on TV yet, and I don't think they wanted to have this be their debut.
Yes. Who, WWE or them individually?
WWE. It was like, we didn't ask, like, we didn't get to them yet.
Yeah.
We were just like, maybe that's not, I just knew they were good people, that were funny people. And I wanted to make this, first of all, I wanted to show off that these people are actually funny and interesting in different ways than what you're used to.
Of course.
And I also wanted to make it a place where, like, they could just kick back and have fun and know that they would be taken care of. Almost like, you remember, like, Southpaw?
Yeah. Yeah.
How people were clearly having fun. And I'm like, let's just, like, if this is a show that you get in your notifications, like, it's something you want to do. So everyone said yes, which was great. And Kevin Owens, who I don't know, but I know, you know, watched my stuff, demanded more cartoons once. And when we got Kevin Owens, I was like, hey, do you want to know what we're doing, or do you just want to do it? He's like, let's just do it. So the Kevin Owens interview on WrestleMania After Dark is, like, completely in real time. And, you know, I mistake him for the Honky Tonk Man. I was hoping for the Honky Tonk Man, and I get him, and he was so amazing. And same thing with Billy Kay, Jesse McKay, who's hilarious. You know, Liv is hilarious. And I was like, sometimes I don't know them. Like, obviously Bivens was fine. He was going to be wonderful no matter what. But other people, it's like, Liv, I don't know you, so I would, you know, try to idiot-proof it, where, like, if nothing happened, we'd still be covered. But then she was, like, amazing on top of it, you know? So I was like, this whole thing is perfect. And then, so we shot it in, like, 2 days, did not get to see the edit.
Oh, no.
Because it's so quick. You know, it's just, like, it's terrifying, right? We don't have any time. Oh, my God. Right before this, I came from L.A. I did Family Feud.
Oh, yeah, so you did?
Yeah. Forgot this.
Yeah, that little thing.
Sorry. Yeah, I believe that was the highest rating wrestler appearance this entire year. You want to talk about your ratings and your demos? According to Brandon Thurston, it was like 4 million people.
What?
Okay.
Did he really report that?
Yeah, I
That's
asked him. I'm like, can I get the overnights? I want give me the whole bullshit.
I love that guy.
I want to see where I am in relation to this shit. And so we did that, and I was at David's, and Dalton was there too, and they forced me to go on a hike, and I hated it. And the whole time I'm trying to write, you know, ideas for WrestleMania After Dark on my phone. So we did it, and, you know, I'm nervous, and I'm like, this is a doomsday scenario for me. Everyone's going to hate this. We did it, and the word on the street was it was one of the best received things they've ever done.
It was.
Meaning
it was like it was one of those things, like, after each WrestleMania night, I'm doing a live show. By the time that's done, I'm done. I want to go to bed. I had to watch WrestleMania After Dark, and I would see people tweeting about it during. And I was like, oh, I wish I was watching this. I saw, like, no negative reaction to it, which is very rare with anything, much less something contingent with WWE.
Right. And they were like, wow, like, Also, I think I've constructed it in a way where, like, I know things are stupid, so I try to call them out first, so you can't even criticize them because I've already criticized myself.
Exactly.
And they were also happy with, like, they reached kind of a different audience too, people who are not normally tweeting about it, because it was a little smarter, like half in and out of kayfabe, and you know, just general weirdness, which they do not normally do at all. And all credit to that whole digital team. I wrote the whole thing, and they really did not give me one note as a, you know, outside of, oh, we can't do this in the time we have. But it was like, oh my God, fantastic. And there was allegedly an internal push to have me host like a weekly, you know, late night, whatever.
Oh,
but
that'd be cool.
But of course, well, I was like, listen, you guys have to hire a whole team for that. You can't just do it with the people you have. And they knew that too. And they were like, you know, let's. And then USA started tweeting me. I was like, let's do the tonight TNT show. Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then, you know, whatever. They were like, okay, this is great. This worked. And let's figure out what the next steps are. And then out of nowhere, do you remember when they did a last minute retro SmackDown?
I do.
Okay. And it wasn't retro at all. It was like all neon, but then it was like Attitude Era stuff. And they didn't know what retro meant.
Yes.
Okay. So we're discussing a bunch of ideas, and I get this call, or this email the day before. They want to do a thing plugging Retro SmackDown. It's last minute. Do you want to interview someone for the bump? It'll be a segment, and you'll just do it. We have either Teddy Long or Shane Helms. And I was like, I know Shane Helms, and I know he gets me. You know, we're friendly, and he gets the humor, and he's whatever. So I'm like, because Teddy, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't want to run the risk. So the day before, I wrote a bunch of questions for Shane, and he had like just gotten home from doing, you know, producing or whatever. I'm sure he was dead tired, and he was so perfect. And I get there, and they have this intro ready, and they'll call it Wednesday Morning Wake Up because they did like a rip off of the TNT logo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. So we did that kind of just on a whim as a way for them to work in Shane and plug SmackDown. And we did, I think I wrote 3 to 5 minutes, and we did it straight through. And then we got a bunch of off-color extra questions later, which was fun. And I said a bunch of stuff that just will never be shown anywhere, which was great. And he was amazing. He was so perfect. And then they did it. Everyone liked it. And they said, let's do at least 6 more of these and then take a break and then see what we can do. And in the meantime, they also said, how can we do another After Dark? I was like, well, the next thing is probably SummerSlam.
Yes.
So they said, okay, let's do SummerSlam After Dark. He was like, the only note from the people who had seen it was, how do we make this bigger? How do we make the next one bigger? I was like, works for me. Let's start on it earlier. Let's plan it better. So I had written SummerSlam After Dark. The whole thing is written. And I was doing these interviews, and we did Tag Team, the musical group Tag Team.
Oh my gosh.
Todd Pettengill. These are all Wednesday Morning Wake Up interviews. Kevin Nash, who is the best, who took it by the pool. Mick Foley. Who else did we do? Oh, and Ted DiBiase, who right before we started, he was at NXT. Remember he was doing the ladder match thing?
I interviewed him the day before NXT, and he's like, right after this, I got to get on a plane. I haven't even dropped it yet because it was like we had some audio issues, but he's like, I'm not even going to be here for SummerSlam. He's like, I'm leaving to go to NXT.
He was at NXT, and they were kind of dragging him around and doing stuff. And I remember just before we turned the camera on, I hear him go, so is this a shoot interview? I was like, oh my God, no. But he was amazing. Everyone was amazing. They got it. And I'm just happy that, like, you know, Mick I've known forever. I've opened for him twice to stand up. Nash, Kevin Nash, to bring it all full circle, was in Monster Brawl. That's where I first met him.
Oh, wow.
And we had so much fun doing those interviews, and they knew it. And I was just like, the bump had gone live at that point, so it was a good break to take it out of the studio.
Yes.
You know, in the middle of the show. It was just fun, and I loved it. I enjoyed the grind of it, of like, what can we say about these people? What's funny and whatever. And then SummerSlam After Dark is all written, and they're going, well, maybe if you're doing this weekly stuff and you're doing that, like, what else can you do? Maybe this is a full-time thing. what would that look like? And I'm like, I don't know. Here's a bunch of things I can do. And then during one of the mass layoffs, they renovated the digital department.
They completely gutted it. That's what they did.
To put it kindly, and basically everyone responsible for me being there, like, no longer worked there.
That sucks.
And not only that, and they were incredibly nice, incredibly supportive. It was like, 3 people. It was like the guy above me, the guy above him, the guy above him, and they were all like on board. And then it's like gone. And then they kind of melded the TV and digital. They made a lot of changes. The bump went to 60 minutes. They stopped watch along, and a bunch of things changed. And nobody could really answer any questions for me. All the extra stuff was kind of off the table. They revamped Talking Smack and Raw Talk and all that kind of stuff. And then it was like, okay, so what are we doing? And it was like, and they're like, no, we still want to, whatever. We just don't know what to do and blah, blah, blah. And
did they say ba ba ba? They said that's a direct quote. Ba 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 ba.
I will say, I also do want to say, the crew of the bump is amazing. They are really delightful, and I don't know how they do it every week. And Ryan was great, Evan was great, Matt is amazing, and Kayla, I don't like her, but I respect her.
Sure.
And she's interviewed big names like Billy Gardell.
Yeah.
And he's a tough interview. I'd like to see you get Billy Gardell.
I don't know who the hell that is. Billy.
Mike and Molly.
I looked him up. You know what? I know who he is. Yeah. Bob Hart's Abishola. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
And they were so welcoming to me. I feel like if they didn't enjoy me, I would not be there. You know?
Of course.
So like, I appreciate them letting me do that stuff. And then no one had any answers. And then out of nowhere, it was like, the New Day wants you on their podcast. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Do they understand that? And no one's ever really sure if I work there or not. And then like a couple weeks after that, I co-hosted the New Day podcast. So it's all weird. And I'm like, I'm not there, but I can just kind of hop in.
Yeah.
It's incredibly, incredibly weird. So don't get me wrong. Like,
so there's still a loose affiliation there.
Yeah, I mean, people like my tweets. I don't know what to say. Yeah, there's affiliation. I mean, it sucks. What happened sucked. It's shitty and whatever. I also hate that I have a whole SummerSlam After Dark written that didn't get made. Like, that hurts me, personally, because
personally,
whatever,
I
you
think
fall
you
in
should
love with those ideas.
Personally, I think you should do that for next year's and just not change anything.
It would be great. All the jokes, but
would it still be evergreen?
We were writing stuff so far out. I wanted to have. Whatever. I'll spoil it. I wanted to have James Adomian. Do you know James Adomian?
No, hell no. I don't know who that is.
Wonderful comedian. I wanted to have him call in as Jesse Ventura because he does a great impression.
Look
him up.
Adomian. Okay, James Adomian. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I've
does a great Bernie Sanders, but he does a picture perfect Jesse Ventura.
I've actually seen some stuff that he's done. I've seen some like impersonation stuff that he's done. Yes.
And there were people I asked for. I was just dying to get. I wanted to get what?
He was in Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
He was George Bush.
Yeah.
He was the weed smoking George Bush in Harold and Kumar.
An amazing Jesse Ventura. And I was like, I just wanted him to call in on the hotline.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knows anything about wrestling. I just wanted him to answer questions. It would have been great. I desperately wanted to get Triple H at some point. Or The Undertaker. I was like, just please.
I think you could have at that point because he was doing it's not tough for like a lot of outlets to get him now because they signed him to that 15-year deal and WWE's basically like, how do we justify this pay? Give him a bunch of media.
I just wouldn't consider me an outlet.
Fair.
That's my only, whatever. But
I wouldn't consider many of the places they give him to outlets.
Right. So, like, don't get me wrong. Like, that sucks that I have all that stuff and we were like on the way up and then like the rug pulls out and it has nothing to do with, like, it sucks. I wish someone could say, we thought you were fucking horrible and this was a failure. Like, that would be somewhat easier to deal with in a sense. But I will also say, like, I am still amazed that no one ever scripted me or gave me any real note or anything to say. And then I'm also, not embarrassed by the work I did there.
It was good work. It really was. And I would love to bust your balls and say it was terrible, but it wasn't. It was very good work. It was fantastic. It was entertaining. It was funny.
It could all certainly be better. I'm not saying it should be nominated for an Emmy.
It was different too. Like we watch wrestling interviews all day, every day, and transcribe stuff. That was so different and fun. And it felt like the people that you were working with, one, were easy to work off of, and two, they got it, understood, and were willing to go with it as well. And I wish that we saw more of that. Like, so you had mentioned USA tweeting you. Did any chatter ever happen about that? Because I mean, hey, you do anything WWE contingent at midnight, it's probably going to draw better viewership with you talking to a camera than whatever they got going on.
Well, I don't know, sure, there was talking about it, but I don't know the people I was talking to. I don't know if they were in relation to making anything happen.
Sure.
We're talking about it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't know, how far it goes or a million things that need to happen, but I had a lot of pitches, certainly. And I also sent them, after all that, I was like, here's all my other ideas from before.
Yes.
So let me know. I pitched a bunch of, UpUpDownDown stuff. Podcast ideas. I'll pitch one here. And then if anyone wants to do it, doesn't have to be them. I really want to sit down with old wrestlers and go through their IMDb.
I love that idea. I mean, I just went through your cage match and it turned out pretty well. I think that's a good idea.
But I want to go through, I want to get Brett and I want to go through his IMDb and I want to talk about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series.
And Lonesome Dove.
And when he played the genie in Toronto. He was the Aladdin.
Right. I remember
because,
that.
you think you get Robin Williams and you're like, he's great. And then you're like, who's the Robin Williams of wrestling? And you go, Bret Hart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And
who I will say, in all honesty, is so funny. He is a very, very funny person.
Who, Bret?
In person.
Yes, he is.
He really, really is.
One of my favorite interview moments, you know how everybody says, well, he just buries everybody. He just buries everybody. So when I interviewed him in relation to I think it was the City Gas or Corner Gas animated series, I was like, hey, I would like to get some positive stuff out there. How about you tell me who did the best sharpshooter? And he said, it's a lot easier if I tell you who did the worst. And I was like,
he's great.
I was like, that's deep down, that's what I wanted to hear him say.
Yeah.
Deep down, I did want him to bury somebody.
He's so delightful. So, yeah, I could appear at any second, and I don't think anyone would think it's any stranger than what I've already been doing the past year.
So, what's keeping you from doing that on your own? Is it just the idea that if you do it with...
What are you talking about? Do you understand the shit I've been doing?
No.
Doing it on my own.
RJ City, and I quote, do you understand the shit I've been doing? The answer from me to that will always be probably not.
I guess so. No, I gave myself a good solid week to be upset.
Yeah.
And to, listen to Annie Lennox. And then I started working on a pilot and then another animated thing. I have these cartoons kicking around and also stuff with David Arquette, which I'm aware is the least successful of all the Arquettes. If I picked Rosanna or Patricia, it might be fucking made by now. But yeah, I'm working on that stuff amongst a bevy of other things. I also have my own coffee.
You do?
Yeah.
You do,
yeah,
which I'm very interested in how that came about.
Well, I like coffee. They had already done a Danhausen coffee, and I thought that was fucking stupid because he doesn't drink coffee.
You are a very coffee-heavy content creator. I mean, you've done the underwear and your coffee deal for quite a while. Yeah.
And so I came up with the name, and they were like, let's do it. And it's called High Anxiety, but H-I, as in hello, you're greeting it.
Yes.
And what else? Oh, and I'm thinking, when will this come out? What day? Do you know what day?
I don't know what day. I just know I wanted to drop it Christmas week as a gift to our viewers. Yes.
Yeah. I'm debating turning babyface.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been a heel for so long, and I made it very clear that I was a heel so people understood. I don't want to be too subtle in this business. So I did say, and 2 years have passed, and I hate I would loathe coming back to wrestling and doing the exact same shit. I think that would bother me. So I thought, I'm weighing the options. We're focus grouping it, being a face. And if I do turn face, I will give everyone fair warning so we're all on the same page.
So to better gauge you gauging people being babyface or heel, I want to throw some names at you and certain periods of time where maybe there were some shades of gray, maybe there weren't, and you'll decide if they were babyface or heel. We'll start off with the hot topic right now, Cody Rhodes. Is he a babyface? Is he a heel?
Well, I'm not crazy about people who wear suits. Okay. They make me uncomfortable. I get overheated. And
you posted several pictures of yourself in a suit on Instagram recently.
Yeah, that was from one event.
I know you got the most out of it though.
The suit time, yeah, because that was it. I'm not putting on another suit for the rest of the year.
Okay,
so to me, he would be a heel just because he's so agitated and uncomfortable in the suit. And maybe if he wore culottes, let's say, he'd be a little more of a face to me.
We'll work our way backwards. Jason Jordan in late 2017, early 2018. He's doing the team with Seth Rollins. He's Kurt Angle's son.
Yes.
It was hard to tell.
You know what?
You didn't watch it, did you?
What frustrated me,
you didn't watch it,
he had
did you?
the singlet. No, he had the singlet.
Yes.
And what bothered me is he kind of always kept the straps up. If he made a little bit of a bigger deal, I could see where there's a babyface there. I think he was afraid of making that clear choice.
Yeah.
And I'm not. If I make it, I'm going to make it and everyone's going to know it.
Let's go with The Rock virtually his entire wrestling career because he got cheers. He was kind of mean to people, though.
You know what? I always thought he was a babyface. Always, always, always. And then he started posting about how early he gets up to go to the gym. And it's like, okay, 4 o'clock exists for me, too. Okay, you have a busy day. I'm sure there's a truck driver who gets up and does pull-ups, too. What is the big deal here? And then he started turning heel for me.
I respect that. I respect it. Even though this is from after his wrestling career. I respect that. You can forgive, not forget. So.
No, I can't forget. Well, I'm up very early. Good for you. What do you want from me? I get up, maybe 8 o'clock. Does that bother you? Am I less of a person because of that?
How about Hulk Hogan, early 90s? He was doing shit like back raking people and poking them in the eyes.
That was very confusing, right?
It was.
And he was like, it's like those heels are so dirty and tough. You have to back rake Boris Zukov.
Yeah.
It's really important.
He wrestled like a real piece of shit, forever.
Yeah. And then, Gorilla would always just kind of shrug it off.
Yeah. What's the big deal?
That's what you have. He's giving it back. I'm like, Boris did not back rake him at all.
No, and then later in his career, he's taken off the belt, even after the Hollywood days, and he's beating people with the belt.
I do have a pretty concerted shit list, a non-wrestling shit list, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
And I do talk about it often. Number 1, Betty White, who I've heard from some sources may not be all she's cracked up to be.
Okay.
And I don't think B. Arthur liked her, and I defer to Brett. How do I explain this? I defer to B. Arthur's opinion. She's like my Brett.
Yeah.
And I heard she wasn't crazy about her, so I started questioning her. Number 1.
You know what's interesting? We had Brett work as Aladdin. He could fill in for Betty White if they do a Golden Girls reboot too.
I think so. I think it would be great.
Yeah.
He could wear the same pants. And who else am I? Oh, Stanley Tucci.
Okay, so when I was watching election coverage, buddy.
Yes. Buddy. He's still searching for Italy, Sean.
You're goddamn right.
He can't find it anywhere. He looks around and can't find it.
Buddy, I was seething. I was so
Do you want to? Here's my here's a clip from next week's Searching for Italy. You ready? Oh, this cappuccino is good.
Yeah.
And then roll credits.
The trailer.
I need that fucking guy to tell me Italy has good food.
The trailer for every show with food. We get it, and then you throw some horns over top of it, and there's your show. I heard that commercial lives inside my brain, unfortunately, forever. I can't watch Easy A anymore. I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's charming anymore.
No.
I'm like,
Somebody
shut
get
the
him a
fuck
map.
up, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. Oh my God! What? I'm in Greece.
Somebody
tell me where Italy is.
Your daughter's allegedly fucking everybody in the neighborhood. She's gonna get HPV. Be more concerned for her.
I think you should put that on select.
I mean, after searching for Italy, I think he should have searched for some sex education in Easy A.
Jesus.
Like he was just
obviously you share the same list that I do.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo.
Why Mark Ruffalo?
Personal reasons. I don't want to get into it right now, but I'm not crazy about him at all.
You said you didn't want to be the eyeball emoji guy.
No, and I'm telling you, it's personal reasons. And also, can we talk about this? Do you remember when there was like 2 days there where everyone thought I was going to wrestle LeVar Burton?
Yeah. Why didn't you?
He replied to a tweet that wasn't even mine saying, I want to see you two wrestle. And he's like, I'm in. And then it was like, boof. And then I was like, you know what? Little does he know, this is how me and David started. So I was like, let me see if this guy's DMs are open. And they are not, smartly. And then that was it. I don't think he picked up anything else I was putting down.
Damn.
And that was it. But I'll say, if he wants to do anything, if he wants to donate it to PBS, I am down.
Why not?
What's the big deal? No, I've never worked with a legitimate actor before, so that would be really exciting for me.
So, man, what's on the docket now? Like,
you don't want to talk about Family Feud? You don't have any Family Feud questions?
I didn't watch it, first off.
What? How? I went to your Cagematch, but I didn't watch Family Feud.
No, I didn't watch Family
I know, I'm
Feud.
sure it was hard to find. Yeah.
I don't like Family Feud, to be honest with you. I don't like game shows. It's not my thing.
Do you understand who was on the show?
Yeah, I do understand who was on the show. RJ City was on the show.
Do you understand that? No, not just... Okay, it's me, Dalton,
I know
Peter Avalon, Jungle Boy.
Let me tell you a Dalton Castle story real quick.
Okay.
Never interviewed him, never spoke to him. Anytime ROH goes, who would you like to talk to? I say, Dalton Castle. I'd love it. Never got him. Never. One time they hit me up and they said, hey, how about 2 minutes audio only with Dalton Castle? And I say, what? What could I possibly ask him about?
He doesn't have his makeup on. Can you just talk to him on the phone?
But I mean, it was a sort of marriage of ROH, and at the time you were doing WWE stuff, and there were AEW stars there.
Yeah, we were really the forbidden door. We really were.
People didn't know Rocky Romero was right behind there. He made it all happen.
He was producing. But then also on the other side is Team Paul Rubens with former Raw guest host.
I know. I remember
Paul
that.
Rubens, Jack A. Harry, Joe Manganiello, who's also made appearances on Raw.
Yes.
S. Apatha Murkison, and WWE Hall of Famer Drew Carey.
Yes, so they had more WWE star power than you all had.
Yes.
Oh man, and I remember seeing the promo and the clips for it. David brought the title belt or a title belt. Like, was that made?
His custom belt.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
He had that made, and there's different moments from his career on there. Oh, it's really cool. It was really a waste of money.
Yes,
but it's a really nice belt.
Now I did watch you and Jessamine Duke play Family Feud.
Yes, I'm that alternate member of like the BRE when they play video games, when they need like a fifth.
And I mean, obviously there was some funky shit going on with Up, Down, Down, which I don't know if you want to talk about or not.
I mean, there's nothing for me to talk about. I was like very much an alternate on the peripheral. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, call me when you need somebody. I will say we played a joke box game. It was me, Woods, Drake Maverick, who else? Cesaro and Breeze. And all my jokes, all the words were clean, but they were so, I insinuated such filth that they bleeped them out. And that really bothered me. I got upset and I was like, why did you? And they're like, they're filthy. I'm like, wait, where's the word? Where's the bad word in here?
Oh, it was like
So you can see why I didn't get asked to play too much.
It was like music videos from 98 to 2002. Like, you would get a few words in there, but like anything that even alluded to something.
Yeah.
Like,
this was like watching the Raw replay on Saturday mornings on TSN in Canada.
So the Family Feud thing happens. How did that come together? Like, was that an Arquette connection?
I got an email. You know, David's so all over the place. Like, he doesn't give you a heads up that he asked for you to be on Family Feud. Like, I got this email, and I don't even know. It was like I have an old email. I have a Hotmail. Like, they emailed my Hotmail from 40 years ago. And they're like, hey, and of course you think it's bullshit. And then you start reading and looking up people's names, and you're like, what? And then I'm like, hey, fuck, I called him. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you. And it was also very difficult because I didn't know if I would be allowed in the country at that time, or like to pop in and out. Like, it was not an easy thing to do. So there was a lot of stuff with that. And then he had, I think he thought his family would not be that interesting to play with, although I disagree. But he wanted to do, you know, his wrestling family and people that were meaningful to him in the documentary, that kind of thing. And like me and Jungle Boy and Peter Avalon, we all met in David's backyard.
Really?
You know, like years before that, because David had a ring, and then people would just kind of come in and out.
Show up.
Yeah, seriously, because it's open, and he was so, I will say, the one nice thing about him is, especially when we did the indie shows, he was so aggressively generous with like everyone backstage, every indie wrestler, every fan. Like, really, really, really went out of his way to, you know, scrub the skid mark he made.
Of course, and that was sort of the basis of the documentary itself. And now he's got some great. I mean, I loved Spree. I think it was either last year or the year before when it came out. I watched that and I was like, man, this is perfect for him. Of course, Scream coming out. My wife is excited for that one. So we're seeing the...
Speaking of Scream, Courteney Cox made me like the worst cappuccino I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Have we talked about this? Yeah.
No.
Me and David did a show when we were teaming, and then I think he got put through a table by Bully.
Yeah.
Was that
I think so. Yeah.
And then I think his back hurt, and he had to get adjusted. And he's like, "Oh, we have to. This guy, and it's by Courtney's, and it'll meet her, and whatever." So, you know, I met her, and I'm like, you know, again, like on the Zoom call, I immediately started apologizing, and she said, "Oh, do you want a coffee? I make a great cappuccino." And I don't drink cappuccinos, but if you're gonna hang it over my head, I make a great one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like,
we'll
all right.
see.
Let's see how great it is. And she's making it, and halfway through, she just goes, "Oh, fuck." I was like, what? She's like, I don't know how to make, you know, whatever. And, you know, it tasted like wet cardboard, and she should be embarrassed, and she should never tell anyone that she even has a coffee machine. It was so bad.
Did you confront her, like, interpersonally
well, she was
about
apologizing immediately.
Yeah.
And
so
then
she confronted herself.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, I need a good cappuccino. It was horrible. It was a waste of my time. And she, months later, blamed the coffee machine. She's like, I got it fixed now, so whenever you want. So now I got to go to her house and have a cappuccino, which I don't even want.
So I assume she lives in L.A. Yeah, I'm not asking for her address or anything, but I assume she lives in L.A., so even if you're in L.A., depending on where you are, that's probably an hour across town just to get a cappuccino in which you don't have that much confidence in to begin with.
I even want the cappuccino anyway.
Yeah.
Blaming the coffee machine. So, you know, those are the grievances I have.
Understandable.
LeVar Burton, Courteney Cox.
Understandable grievances.
Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. I've got plenty of other stuff to ask you about, you know, Elmo, stuff like that, but I'm going to save that for another day.
Oh my God, that horrible meme. The one time I don't show my face, we were at an anime convention years ago, and it was a guy who was a wrestler who also did like mascots at birthday parties, so he had a bunch of costumes. And then he was Elmo, and he gave me a rock bottom, and
to live forever.
Probably every 4 months, some celebrity like Snoop Dogg, not that he runs his own Instagram, will tweet that meme, and people will say, "Isn't this your back?" And I go, "Yes," and I'm ashamed.
Are you ashamed of it?
I am ashamed of it because I didn't show my face.
Did you do the job that night?
Oh, yeah, I had to, unfortunately. I wasn't taking any high-risk shit. You've seen him do a Canadian destroyer, but not on me.
Oh, Elmo, my God. Why didn't you put in the call to have Elmo on the Family Feud thing?
It was just logistics.
Heat there?
I had a little Elmo heat.
A little Elmo heat.
Telly, I will say, is one of the most underrated performers in Sesame Street history. Everyone's talking about Elmo. Telly is a good hand. Do you know what I mean?
A good hand? I got yelled at for calling somebody a good hand once.
Who was it?
It was Helms. Helms yelled at me because on our show, I said Shelton Benjamin was a good hand for WWE for a while. And he's like, "You're not fucking JR. You can't call somebody a good hand."
You know what? And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Shane Helms, not a good hand.
Well, that was the thing. Somebody said, "Well, he's probably been told that himself," and he's like, "That's a backhanded compliment." And you know what? For somebody who was like number 2 merch seller in the company at one point, I agree with that, because he's probably like, "Motherfucker, my hands were full of money at one point." Like, don't tell me that. So I got it. I understood it. It was a lesson that I learned.
Next question: is it all Sesame Street related?
It's all Sesame Street related. It's all Sesame Street related. Did you take like training or classes to shoot paintballs at people? Like, did you have to practice that? Like, did they train you for Splatalot?
You're talking about Splatalot?
Yes, I am.
We had a couple days of weapon testing where we got to shoot an adult. Because those were CO2 guns that were shooting the paintballs, which is like a t-shirt gun. And they had a setting on them where we could turn it up.
Ooh.
And really, really do some damage. And it was soaked in like this soapy kind of paint.
Yes. It has to leave a mark, basically.
Yes.
That's why they do it.
And we figured out very early on that we weren't allowed to shoot people in the face.
Yeah. That can be very dangerous.
My worst memory doing that was they were testing the course. We did a bunch of test tapings, and I hadn't even figured out my character or what we're doing, and I had to dump a bucket of water on this kid. He was the first kid to ever run the course, and then he asked to run it, and he was like a Thurman Merman, okay, in a wetsuit and a life jacket and water shoes and a helmet, and they were like, give it to this kid, just make fun of him and rip him up and blah blah blah. So we do it, and he runs into the moat. And he swims up to the first tower, and he just stops. And he's not moving. And I only see the back of his head. I can't see his face. And I've been told to destroy this kid, and that's what I'm doing. So for 5 minutes straight...
Just doing your job.
Doing my job. And 5 minutes go by, and then he looks up at the camera, and he says, I can't feel my arms. And I just felt like the absolute worst. I felt like a monster. And what happened was, I think the water was so cold, and you're not ready for it, and you just totally are shocked. And you have to be a really good swimmer to swim in a life jacket. So it didn't go so well.
RJ City, you have done so many things, and all of them are things.
They are things and more things.
They are things. We've been here for almost 70 minutes. This is our longest interview yet.
Yeah, is it? You have this... you've timed them after this?
Well, I mean, there's a timer right here on the software that I'm using.
So. And do you remember, can I bring up, I want to talk about this. The first time we met, and you can probably put this up, I was getting dressed before I left the house, and it was very hot because it was Summerslam in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to wear shorts, but I don't want to be filmed in shorts because I'll look stupid. And I thought, it's hot, and it's like, it's an interview. It's going to be, it's going to be a waist-up interview.
Yes.
Fucking whatever. So I get there to this office building that you've infiltrated, and it's these recliners, and my legs are visible like the whole interview. And
I hate it. I loathe it, man. I said, so that was my first interview that I did in that office. Yeah. And I bring us in, and I'm looking, and I've got eczema on my knees. I'm very self-conscious about it. Not willing to wear pants in the summer, though, because I'm not a psychopath. No. Right.
two men sweating through an interview.
just sweating with the lights on us and all that. I was very disappointed by that too, especially considering on the other end of that room, Jimmy, who runs Fightful, there's a big table for another website's podcast that we own. I was like, why didn't we just set something up there? But he likes his setup. He likes to be there in that big recliner and do all that.
Looking like Martin Crane.
Yeah, and meanwhile, while he's going with the full Super Krang Ninja Turtles setup, I'm here. I have to have a gaming chair for posture so I stand up straight. Yeah. And I'm always running traffic and all this. I go there and everybody's handling things for me, and our naked knees are out for the world to see. No paywall, no nothing.
So bizarre. No paywall. That was a select interview. If you want to see the lower half of this interview, you have to pay. It's behind a paywall.
Oh man. But yeah, I have not been back to the office since then because of the pandemic. And that feels like it was 4 years ago. That feels like forever.
I feel like we were two 12-year-olds.
Yeah. You had a crazy day that day. Like that was you had to like go on first on one end of the town and then get in a vehicle and then drive to the other end of the town. And
it was one of those frustrating Toronto drives where it's logistically a 5-minute drive, but with traffic it's 45 minutes. You know,
I've unfortunately learned that. But it was a fun
time. Yeah, Toronto's shitty.
If I go 45 minutes from here, I can hit like 2 or 3 different states. Like
right. Yeah. Well, that's because nobody wants to live in Kentucky.
That's true. Kentucky. I like that you even question it. Nobody wants to live in.
Are you still Kentucky? In Kentucky? Do people say that to you when they see you? They go, "Are you still in Kentucky?"
Sometimes, yes. But I mean, a lot of people know that I'm planning a move to insert city name here if they know me personally. If they know me well enough to know that type of thing, they know I'm planning a move, and that's
You're planning a move to iEmoji.
Yes, I'm gonna move to iEmoji, but I'm in the middle of nowhere, so a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go, "Are you still in? What was it?" That's what they'll say because they don't remember the name of my town because more like 50 times as many people that live in my town will watch this interview.
Like, right. And the town is Mudlick?
I live 15 minutes away from Mudlick.
That's a real fucking town.
Oh, buddy. Not is it only a real town. There are 2 of them in Kentucky.
Oh, my God. There's like a lower Mudlick?
There's a lower Mudlick in southern Kentucky. Then there's a Mudlick where they have races. But, buddy, let me just tell you, we take care of our own here.
Yes.
With the hat.
The wonderful... Wasn't he working in the VHS department or something for the longest time?
Yes, he was in Coliseum Video. But it's signed, and it says, Merry Christmas 2019. I told the wonderful folks at Toy HQ, Toy Vomit, that that was the first wrestling figure I ever saw. And the masked fellow said, "Here, take this." And he demanded that I take this Hillbilly Jim figure. And not only that, because it doesn't have a COA with it, a certificate of authenticity, the person who had it signed took an actual physical photo with a regular camera of him holding up 2 of them. And he gave me that too. And it still has the bucket hat, which are back in. Your friend Chelsea Green.
Oh, yeah. They are. Chelsea Green was wearing one. I'm sure it cost her more than $10.
I'm sure it did. But I've shown off my Hillbilly Jim LJN. We've talked about your wild year and a half in which delayed this interview, RJ.
Yeah. Well, now I have nothing to promote, so I'm here.
That's the way that media should work, right?
Yeah. What are you doing? You want to come on and talk about? I'll come on and talk about nothing.
I need content for Christmas. I want our audience to be happy during Christmas, and they always seem to be happy with interviews with you, RJ City.
Yes, because most of them go, "Who is this person?"
Now, that's not true. Not anymore.
Did you see that guy who unboxed a Pro Wrestling Crate?
Which
and
one?
He was literally... I have a pin. He unboxed the pin, and he goes, "RJ City." And he literally goes, "Am I stupid? Who is RJ City?" And I couldn't be mad at him because he was genuinely trying to think about it.
That should be the intro for your videos. Is like a graphic and then, "Am I stupid? Who's RJ City?"
Am I stupid?
I mean, I saw you unbox Fightful Goes West trading cards.
Yes, and I will be unboxing a lot more.
Check it out.
Not Fightful Goes West, because whatever. Go ahead.
Tell the people where they can find you, where they can check this stuff out.
Well, they can buy my coffee at rootlesscoffee.com. other than that, maybe youtube.com/RJCityLovesYou. You'll find me on Twitter. You'll put my shit. Don't you put it in the description?
Yeah,
Is this how this
it's
shit
down
works?
there. I can't wait
Make it
over there.
easier for them. Yeah,
But
I know.
it says
Click.
RJ City 1, it says RJ City, then it says wrestler.
Yeah, wrestler, allegedly. Oh, by the way, on Family Feud, they were like, what do you want to call yourselves? And they were like, just put whatever you want. And then I found out Jungle Boy and Peter Avalon were getting to put like AEW Superstar. I was like, fuck this. So I was like, I'll put Sports Entertainer.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, sure. And then they didn't. And it says actor/wrestler. And I was like, both of those are questionable.
Peter Avalon of Car Shield fame. That's what that should
They're
be.
still airing.
They are. They are still airing.
He did a great job of being like a rental car worker who has a ponytail.
Yes.
Yeah.
RJ, I want to thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, is Denise there?
Here?
Yeah. Does she do anything? You can't get me Denise or something?
I mean, Denise would probably love to interview. Well, maybe.
I was hoping for it. Thought it was going to be a lot more fun. And okay.
I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, she tagged me in 40 SpongeBob SquarePants memes at 1 a.m. last night.
Oh my God. She must have carpal tunnel. You know?
That poor
She's
girl. Yeah, it's always...
I think about her, and I hope she has some sort of joint formula for tweeting so much.
Hope she's got something to take care of that big-ass head of hers.
Yeah. But that's old movie stars. They're very small bodies, very big head, and people are engaged with their faces.
That makes a lot of sense. That explains her success. For sure.
Next time, shoot her knees in the shot, and no one will watch it.
Yeah. I'm ready to end this interview, RJ City. Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
I keep going on.
Until next time.
Rest in peace, Ed. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Ed Asner. We're out.